So there are usually two types of society. One is what we known as preliterate society, and one is a complex society, so to speak. Now, preliterate and complex society in the sense that uh, I would say not exactly preliterate, but a non-organic society, a materialistic society, so to speak, a very closed society. Now, the characteristic of a closed society is that first of all, it's a tribal society, so to speak. So there is homogeneity. Everyone speaks the same language. Everyone follows the same belief. Everyone follows the same religion. Everyone follows the everyone looks same. Everyone has more or less does the same work. Then everything is owned collectively. There is as such no private property. The goods that are produced collectively is consumed collectively. Hunting is done, and so like that, hunting is done, and the hunted food is distributed among all. Farming is done, farm produces distributed among all. So like that kind of a society. Okay, that's called a pre-literate society. And not all societies, like almost none of the societies in India, okay, I mean Sentinelese tribe could be one of the example, but otherwise usually no society in India would be able to classify itself as a pre-literate society right now, because there are always some other differences, and most important of all, there is no interconnection between other societies. So for example, Sentinelese might not know that there is an outside world, and they might not want to engage with it. Now if you look at the that is pre-literate society, and then there is a complex society. So a complex society is one which, like in modern societies, you just don't have one culture, you just don't have one language, you just don't have one belief, one religion. You have plethora of it, and you are connected with the outside world. You know what's going there, and you have an interaction with them. You have an interaction with different kinds of people, and so on and so forth. There is private property, and there is an ambition to increase private property as much as possible. So all these things are characteristics of a complex society. Now if you look at the aspect of religion and how religion is controlled in a preliterate society and a complex society, what we would see is that the preliterate society is a society which is which is very strict in its regulation of religion and religious beliefs and ritual practices and so on and so forth. On the other hand, a complex society is one where ritual practices and all those things are not strictly enforced. So you could basically defy your own religious values and follow your own intuitive desires, etc. So like almost nobody is born as a, unlike in today's society it's possible, but traditionally nobody is born as an atheist. Everyone becomes an atheist after some point of time in their life. So like some people become atheist after some point of their time in their life. So similarly in India, similarly across the world, this is the case. Now why that's because you are not following what your religion says, and you are you're following perhaps your own rational decisions and desires, to be specific, it may be rational, it may be irrational, that's up to you, but that is there. Now why it's so? So first of all, we have to see that the size of the society is what matters. In a small society, it's very easy to control because it's just in one particular area. You could supervise it properly. In a large society, it's very difficult to control. In a small society, the chances of chances of hierarchy is direct control is possible. On the other hand, in a pre-literate society, there is no chance of a direct control. In a complex society, there is no chance of direct control. You have to control this society as much as in a decentralized manner, or so to speak in a hierarchical manner. And when there is hierarchy, we all know that politics plays a role in it, and then there is a conflict of interest in some ways, because of power playing politics or something or the other sort. And then we see that there is a difference in belief. So because of all, for example, we all know the fact about division in main religions. If you look at the big religions in the world, they have all different denominations, etc. And that clearly shows that you cannot basically go through different denominations. You cannot basically supervise your beliefs upon people. If it's growing in a large number, there is definitely something which leads to you know which leads to disagreement and then a conflict between the groups. So that's because the size of the society actually matters. So in a large society, you basically it's difficult to supervise. Secondly, interaction with the people. So in a very closed society, what we see is that that's why we call it as a conservative society. That's why people are against immigration. That's why people are against bringing somebody of a different culture into their country and letting those people occupy your resources, etc. One of the reasons is that, first of all, you don't identify them as yours. That's one thing. Secondly, you don't identify you know that your culture would let's say they would see your culture and you would see their culture, and you would not homogeneously follow your culture. You would perhaps look at their culture, and some of the things that they like, you would slowly try to adopt it. And this is what we call as confluences. So our and this is adapting, taking things from different things from different culture and forming a culture of its own. So we don't have a pure homogeneous culture anywhere. It's all taken from some, like in a complex society, it's all taken from some traders, or some people who are persecuting you, so they are imperialism or something like that. So there is an interaction between two different cultures, and those two different cultures give two different many, give rise to many confluences and so on and so forth. So and this also happens with regard to religion as well. So when let's say a person following religion A comes into a country which follows religion D, and if the large number of people following religion A comes into the country which follows religion D, the people following religion D would try to protest, because it's against their culture, and they think that they are going to soon intermingle with them and pollute their religion and pollute their culture. So that is something why we see that in a complex society you have more freedom, and you deviate from your original religion in a what to say there is a greater probability of deviation from your original religion, because you have an interaction with other things. So atheists, you could find an atheist in America, because you are exposed to more concepts of atheism in America than you perhaps could find atheism in a small island which is full of Christians or Muslims or Hindus, etc. Because you don't have any concept of atheism. You're not exposed to any concept of atheism, because there isn't interaction with the outside world. Thirdly, we look at the secular authority, and this is perhaps one of the most important thing when it comes to a difference in when it comes to the liberal societies and conservative societies in the country. So we have mostly the Western society is a liberal society, and even if it's not a liberal society, most countries in the West have a liberal government which have a right to profess, practice and propagate religion. On the other hand, if you look at the Islamic countries and the Middle Eastern countries, you find that that's not there. It's not there. If you have a right to follow Islam if you are from a different religion, but you cannot change your religion from Islam to Christianity or to Hinduism or to Buddhism, Jainism or any other religion. or even become an atheist. You cannot be an atheist in these countries. You cannot leave your religion. If you leave the religion, you will be punished by death, or some other punishment would be there. And that's simply because the authority that's there, it's not a secular authority. It's a religious authority. Now, as I've told you before, that it's not necessarily that secular people would want to have a religious authority always. I mean, people don't necessarily need secularism. What they want is freedom of religion, right? But however, they also, but one thing is for sure, that in many whichever religion which we do not have this um, the the freedom to of religion, it's not a clearly secular country. And even if there are religious, there is no separation of church and state. There is interlink between church and state, like we see in Nordic countries. Yet in one aspect we call these governments secular, because at least they give us the freedom of choice to follow whichever religion they want to people want to follow. And because of that, what you see is, this is simply because um, because of the interaction between many people of different religion. And this is, of course, also leads to there is, in many religions, you have almost all the religions have this possibility of being getting into that particular religion, so you're converting into that particular religion. So because of all that clashes that one go through, if the government is favoring one particular religion, the other countries would protest, other religions would protest against it, right? Or people of who are from that religion but are not that progressive, or not that conservative, or etc., they would protest against the religious rule, so to speak. So they would more likely be an atheist. So all these, because of all these reasons, there are secular countries, and because, so that if there are two conflicts, there are conflict between a Muslim and a Christian, the government needs to be a secular government, right? So if there is a secular government, definitely it allows you to not follow. It's, for example, there is a difference between sin and crime. There is a huge difference between sin and crime in Western societies, but in the Islamic society and the Arabic society, there is not much difference between a sin and a crime in terms of Islam and Christianity, respectively. So that's clearly because both of the governments are different in nature. And so if there is a difference between sin and crime, then you are punished for, at least you are physically punished in this life for just crime. So you have a right to basically you have a right to basically depart from your religious values. So these are one of the reasons why in a proletariat, and there is of course a materialistic perspective to it, that sometimes greed, desire, etc., would lead you to change some aspects of your religion, and would change some aspects of your religion. And this desire for greed and for more money, etc., it doesn't come from a very so to speak communist society, in the sense that people are living in a communitarian way, that they are producing communally and consuming communally. It doesn't happen that the desire for getting more. However, that's clearly there in a complex society.